Hi, Melanie Muenchinger here, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I have another sample for you with my new Stately Flowers 8 set from Gina K Designs using the iris. I have a lot of different tips packed into this particular video. Going to be showing you how to elongate these stems, how to mask, and how to color them two-tone. This is actually my favorite color combination in real irises when I treat myself to flowers. This is a single layer card, very minimal supplies that you'll be needing. Some white cardstock. You'll need the Stately Flowers 8 stamp set. Some black ink. This is the Gina K Black Onyx. You'll need a black pen, fine point. Any brand will do. I get these at Hobby Lobby. Copic markers, you'll need the B79, B66, and B63 for the petals. The Y19 for the yellow centers. And then I'm going to use the YG67 and G21 for the leaves. You're going to need a large block for this iris stamp, scissors to cut out your mask, and some scratch paper. Now I would have loved to have made this a longer stem. However, I would have lost a lot of room in the set for images and sentiments. However, you can see that the clear stamp is very flexible, so this gives you the ability to have them bend towards the right or the left. And it's very easy to add in the stem so that it's going to work for your particular card. So I'm going to put this on the block. I'll set this aside. This is a piece of cardstock I already have scored. Not going to fold it though until after I am done with all of my stamping and coloring. I'm going to ink this up. I'm going to do the top one first, leaning just slightly to the left. Okay, now I'm going to take my scratch paper, stamp it again. No need to re-ink it because you just need a very faint outline for your mask. So masking is what we do to cover up our stamp image, and the beautiful thing about a stamp, the image never changes. So I like being able to count on that, and when you cover it up, you can completely block off that section and then stamp other things to look like they are behind it. Now, if you're only going to be stamping on one side, like I showed you on my sample, you only need to cut out the part of the mask that's going to be covering the stamped image. So just for the sake of time, I'm just going to do this one side, but I recommend that you go ahead and cut out the whole flower. That way you can save it with your set so that you can cover it anytime you need to do masking on your cards. So you see that's going to go right over the image. Then you're going to want to re-ink your stamp again, and this time I want my flower to be going a little bit off to the right. So you see if I do it that way, I'm going to get a very straight stem, and that doesn't look very natural. I want it to look like it's bending. So what we're going to do is just pull the stamp away slightly and curve it. So remember, whatever you're doing this way is going to be the reverse. So you can check how it's going to look on your card before you stamp it. So I'm going to ink this up in the black ink. Okay. And just go right over that, just barely overlapping. I'm going to pick it up, pull my mask away, and I've got my second iris. And sometimes you might have a little bit of the image get cut off by the width of your paper, and you can just go in and fill in those little details. So that's why it's always kind of nice to have that black pen on hand. Okay, so for the sake of time, I'm only going to be coloring one of the irises today, but let me go ahead and show you how you're going to elongate those stems. So just carefully, but you don't want to go too slowly because then you'll have a wobbly line. I'm just going to go ahead and extend that line. And it's going to be slightly thicker at the bottom. Okay, and that's all there is to it. Now, to give those a little bit of texture, I'm going to go ahead, let's just fill this in really quickly with our green, the lighter green, G21. Okay, you can see there's a lot of texture though on those leaves and on the stem. It has a very ribbed texture, kind of like celery. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our darker green, the YG67. You see how I have these little lines on the underside showing those veins. So we're just going to trace carefully. Don't blend it too much, but so you can have some of those strokes with the marker. Okay? And then I'm going to trace over those darker lines I have in the image. I said I was only going to do one, but I wanted to go ahead and show that at least on the stems for you. Okay? And then just to put a little bit of greenery onto this card, I'm going to take the brush tip of the marker again and hold it to the side and just make a long stroke like that. Okay? And it's fine if it overlaps the petals of the flower, and then you can go back in with the lighter one just to soften it up. But this is just to add a little bit of greenery there and a little bit more interest on the layout. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the yellow, and I'm going to do just the top of these petals on the side, and I'm going to do flicking strokes, and I want to have a little space in between where my blue is going to be, because if you look at the actual flower, they don't really blend together. There's a little bit of white in between, and you see some very tiny little stripes that move toward each colored area. Okay? I can bring this one over here as a guide so that you can see in a minute. Okay, so that's all you're going to do for the yellow. Then you're going to take the lightest blue, which is the B63, and you're going to start at the tips and just do flicking strokes toward that yellow. So you see how I'm leaving a little bit of room in between. Okay. You're going to follow this exact same thing on the other flower. Okay, and then I'm going to pull this color up here. And I pull this back down. So if you have some areas that are still open and white, that's fine. Okay. All right, then I'm going to go in with this darker shade, the B66, and like we talked about doing in these little folds when I showed you my red iris, if you watched that video, just going to be tracing some of these lines to create these darker areas. You don't want to do too much. You don't want to cover up all those lighter areas that you did, but just a few. Just concentrating along the bottom. Okay, and then I'm going to also use this for this petal back there and behind and back here, and then the inside and here. Okay. And then just a few on these tips. One there, a little bit here in that fold. So again, I don't want to lose too much of that, those light areas. And go underneath here. And then finally, I'm going to take this darkest blue, B79, which is actually called Iris, ironically. And this is a very dark blue. You almost lose the black in the image. So I'm just going to use it just very underside, just to make all of that blue pop a little bit more. And that's it. And then if you want to blend those areas a little bit, you can. And I can take the lightest blue to blend that in a little bit, the two blues there. And that's it. So you would color the other iris, and you might actually want to make this one orange or yellow or a red, and that would really be stunning, the different contrast. So back to the finished card, the final thing that I did, folded it, add an embossed panel on there, and it's just always a really elegant look. And then finally, take your greeting from that set, the little For You, and stamp that so that you have it inside your embossed frame and it's not on top of it. Anyway, I hope that you got a lot of good information from this card, saw that it was very simple to do and very fast to create. Thanks for watching.